Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias, Miami. You know, there is a saying that sometimes we need to lose ourselves in order to truly find ourselves. Our guest in this morning's main platform conversation did exactly that, quite literally. Lost in the heart of the Amazon, he faced unimaginable challenges. But in confronting adversity head-on, he uncovered a profound inner strength he didn't know he had. Today, Yossi Ghinsberg will take us on a journey of survival, resilience, and self-discovery. So powerful was his story that it became the inspiration for the feature film Jungle, starring Daniel Radcliffe. Some of you know him as Harry Potter. Before we begin our conversation, though, let's take a moment to watch a brief video.
I lived to escape the well-worn path. University, work, marriage, kids. I wanted to experience the extraordinary.
Gracias, señor.
De nada, vaya con Dios.
I told my parents I'd be back in a year, but I don't think I'm ever going back.
I read a book once that said the lost freedom is to choose one's own way.
The hidden world? That's why you're here.
Let's go off into the jungle with a complete stranger.
You're a photographer, right? You take photos, they get you straight into National Geographic.
Okay, let's go!
This is the last frontier on Earth. The jungle shows us what we really are. Perfectly balanced. The problem is us. With the cancer, we deserve to disappear.
Battle!
The only guy who knows where we are and what we're going to do, and he just walked away.
Carl! Stop!
You're such a letdown, I can't even believe it.
Run! Don't tie yourself!
Don't leave me! I'm not leaving you, okay?
Kevin! Hello!
My friends, let's give a warm MDRT welcome to Yossi Ghinsberg. Wow, Yosi, what an experience. First of all, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I know it took you a long time to get here. Guys, it took him 3 days to get here. Tell us why.
Well, there's a war where I live. It's a bad neighborhood, and a lot of missiles are coming down, and all airports were closed, and even inner flights. So I could say it's a force majeure, and sorry, I cannot make it. But in a way, it doesn't suit my story. You know, my story, it's all about nothing is impossible, nothing can stop you, resilience, we can do it. So I crossed the country on a bus that was stopped 3 times, and the driver took us off and said, lie on the bitumen and cover your heads. and the earth was shaking as the bombs were falling. Finally, I got to the border with Egypt. I crossed the border and drove with a Bedouin to a camp, stayed there overnight. The next night, I took a taxi all the way to the tip of the desert to Sharm el-Sheikh, flew from Sharm el-Sheikh to Istanbul, from Istanbul to Athens, and here I am. It was a great adventure. You know, Ellen Keller, you know, she said something that stayed with me. She said, life is a great adventure or nothing.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, Yossi, your story of survival against all odds is truly remarkable. But I have to believe it all started with a dream. I'd like to ask you to tell us about how it all began. You know, what made you want to embark on such a daring journey to the Amazon?
Well, you said it. It all started with a dream. And I believe that this is true for everything. Everything starts with a dream. We were given, as human beings, we were given the power of creators. You know, we were made in the image and liking of God, which means we are creators. As a creator, nothing is created unless you dream it first. Dream, we depend. Our world is dependent on our ability to dream. You can call it vision, you can call it purpose. For me, it's a dream. A dream is something, is a calling, and something that flurs your imagination and grasps your heart, and you get obsessed by it. You know? But there's two types of dreamers, I must tell you. Some dream to create the world, other dream to escape the world. Escapism is also a sort of dreaming. The two types of dreamers, one, they dream when they sleep. The others cannot fall asleep because the dream keeps them awake. So it depends which dreamer are you. So my dream was inspired by many books that I read. I am an insatiable reader. I read almost every day. I read a book. Even today, when I go to sleep, I put a book inside my head, in my headphone, and I listen to a book all night. I sleep, but the book keeps talking to me. And every single day, in my youth, I read books. The books took me to amazing places, and in my imagination, I was part of that expedition. And then it grew on me. I'm going to look for my own adventure. I'm going to look for my own book. And that's something very profound, because when you understand that with your life, you write a book titled, "This is my life," my autobiography, we all write this book. If you realize that you write that book, you also realize, I'm the protagonist. I'm the hero. And when you realize you're the hero's journey is very, very clear. When you hear the calling, you follow the calling. You leave the comfort zone. You leave the known, and you go into the unknown. Fear will rise, but fear is just a calling for courage to come through you. It's an opportunity to find courage. So I decided I'm going to go and search for my own adventure. And through all the books that I read, it all crystallized in my head what will be. I grew up in a very arid country, so I chose the Amazon as my first adventure. It's all in my imagination. I decided I'm going to be an Amazon explorer, but not just Amazon explorer. I'll find that place that is called No Foot Was Set There Before. And in this uncharted forest, I will look for a tribe of indigenous peoples that never met culture. I'll be the first one. They will embrace me. They will initiate me. I'll be a warrior. I'll be a hunter. And then I'll fall in love. With who? With the most beautiful girl. Happens to be, she's the daughter of the chief. So I will marry the daughter of the chief. I will become the chief of this indigenous tribe in the middle of the Amazon, but my mind wasn't satisfied. I will find the treasure. I will find El Dorado. I will find gold. I'll find emeralds. But I'm the second type of dreamer. This wasn't escapism. I decided I'm going to do it.
So you clearly had the heart of a dreamer from an early age. But I have to believe such a bold dream had to come with some resistance. Did you find that the world around you supported you? Or did the, obstacles get in your way?
It's a beautiful romantic notion. I think Paulo Coelho in his book, The Alchemist, has this phrase. If you're young and bright-eyed and passionate and you go after your dream, the entire universe will conspire to assist you. Well, I'll tell you, I have lots of respect for Paulo Coelho, but humbly I'll tell you, the entire universe will conspire to set obstacles on your way, to resist you with all its might. It will not assist you at all. So just briefly, what happened to me? Look, my father was a Second World War refugee. He was really upset. Said, come on, this is indulgence. Well, you're following your fantasy, your dreams. Go to university, get the profession. I will help you. I will pay your tuition. I will buy you a car. Your mom will cook and do your laundry. Just stay here and I'll help you. But if you follow your fantasies, 1 shekel you will not see from me. So he drove me to the airport and he was crying. But shekel he didn't give me. So I was out in the world with a big dream, but no money. I went to Norway, 4 months I worked. The sun was rising at like 11 and setting at 3, and it was 20 centigrades under zero on a construction site for 4 months. Saved enough money, flew to the United States. It's spring now, went up to Alaska, worked a full fishing season in Alaska, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week in a cannery, cleaning fish for 4 months. After 8 months, I had enough money. I was ready to go after my dream. Then, to my shock, I'm walking in the street in Southeast Alaska, and in front of me, a kid from high school, Michael Steinberg, said, Michael, what are you doing here? He said, look, I was in New York with my uncle. I was bored. I called your parents. They told me you were here. So I came to look for you. No phones. We're talking 1981. No phones, no internet, yeah? He said, Michael, why did you come to look for me? I said, because I'm bored, I'm alone, and I thought maybe we'll buy a car, we'll do a coast to coast. I said, no, I'm going to South America, I have no time. He said, no, please, I came all the way. So I said, okay. We went to Seattle, we bought a car. Washington, beautiful. Oregon, beautiful. Northern California, beautiful. We crossed to Nevada. Las Vegas, that night, I lost all my money. Regina, all of it. All of it. When I ran out of bills, I put quarters. When I ran out of quarters, I put dimes and cents. I lost all my money. So, in the morning, by the beaten Chevy in the parking lot, I was crying. Michael Steinberg was next to me. He was crying too. We were both crying. I called my father. He will help me. He will sell me a ticket back home. And I will tell my kids and my grandchildren, your father was about to conquer the jungles and marry the daughter of the chief and find the gold, but what to do? Michael Steinberg. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, in every story hiding Michael Steinberg, there's always a reason to betray your dream if you just let it. I didn't call my father. I called the uncle of Michael Steinberg. He gave me a job. I flew to New York. I slept in the trucks that I was loading and uploading in the street. I flew to South America, and I went to find my adventure.
Wow, what a story, guys. Unbelievable. So now you are in South America. So did you feel like, oh, finally, my dream is coming true?
Well, I searched for it. I didn't come to, like travel. No, I knew exactly what I'm looking for. I had a precise plan. You see, when you have that vision, and it obsesses you, when you have clear purpose, the rest is technical. All you need in life is a clear vision. If you have a purpose, you know what you're doing. If you don't have a purpose, you're rudderless. Once you have a purpose, it's simple, it's technical. So technically, I started searching for that place that is called No One Has Set Foot There Before, and I didn't find it. Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, there was always a trail. I didn't find that place. But then I crossed to Bolivia, and then in the streets of La Paz, I met somebody that introduced himself as an Austrian geologist. And he told me about the Madidi, the uncharted Bolivian Amazon, the mighty Madidi. And he told me that he's organizing an expedition because in the Madidi there's lots of gold, like raw gold in the river. And he said that there's a tribe, the Toromonas, that was never explored. He wants to make contact with them. In short, he told me my own dream. Little did I know that this was a con artist that has a talent to sniff your dream off your shoulder. And he told me my own dream, and I couldn't refuse him. I said, take me with you. And he said, sure, I will take you. In the youth hostel, there were two travelers that heard about it and decided to join. One was a brawny, strong American photographer and alpinist, 29 years old, Kevin Gale from the Dalles, Oregon. The other was Marcus Stamm, a Swiss school teacher on a sabbatical, very delicate, very spiritual, very beautiful. The foursome was formed. An Austrian, an American, a Swiss, and an Israeli decide to explore the uncharted. And that's what we did. We left civilization, flew as far as an airplane could take us, and landed in the frontier. And from there, for 4 days, we walked, and guess what? After 4 days, the trail ended, and here I was, standing in a place that nobody set ever foot there before.
Wow. So, the four of you got to Nirvana, you got to your dream place. What happened?
No, we were in search of the Toromonas and the gold. So the journey just began.
Okay.
The next 3 weeks was a terrible ordeal. You have to take into consideration when you dream that you might realize it. You might realize it. It's scary. I wanted to go back, but I didn't tell them. But fear, the uncharted, there's no culture because there's no sign. A trail is a sign of culture. When there's no trail, there's no telegraph line, there's no airplane passing in the sky, you belong in any time, it doesn't matter. It's just four men and raw elements, nature itself. And there's no trail, so you make the trail. And we have to hack every pass with a machete and break through the dense vegetation. And it's difficult. And there's no food, and the only animals that we shoot are the animals that it's easy to shoot, which are monkeys. And Marcus, despite the hunger, he cannot bring himself to eat the monkeys, so he loses weight. And there's lots of difficulties, and also raw things like, the power fight between Kevin and Carl. And I'm telling you, something ancient is awakened, and some of it is scary. Like, sometimes you think it's darker in your heart than outside under the canopy. The relationship, there's a lot of tension, but the worst thing was that Marcus got weaker and weaker and weaker until his feet started rotting. He lost weight because he couldn't handle the meat that we were hunting. And also he felt isolated socially. It's a bit of Lord of the Fly, notion, something, it was heavy. And then after 3 weeks, when we saw that we couldn't take him anymore, we decided to forget about, also we already realized that Carl is not reliable. He was changing the stories, and we weren't sure anymore if we can trust him or not. So we decided to evacuate, and we built a raft, and we tried to get out through a wild river we knew will take us out of the jungle to civilization. But it wasn't simple. The rainy season has begun. The water was very dangerous. And on the water, the fight broke loose between Kevin and Carl. In the jungle, Carl was authority. But on the river, it was like a shaved Samson. He couldn't swim. He lost all his powers. So Kevin tried to take over, and they were fighting. And that fight split us. And then Carl stopped the river and said, I'm off the raft. This is suicide. I'm going back into the jungle. Whoever wants to survive, come with me. Kevin pulled me aside and said, let them go. Stay with me. I can handle it, don't worry. And that's what we did, which is terrible. We let Carl take Marcus into the jungle. Kevin and I stayed on the raft. 3 hours later, we were sucked into a canyon. Walls were built from both sides. We couldn't evacuate anymore. There was a huge rock, and it was inevitable. We lied on the raft, and sure enough, the raft exploded on the rock. From the accident, Kevin flew off the raft. I was still hanging on the logs when I saw that Kevin made it to the bank. He was screaming. A waterfall was coming. I went down the waterfall, and I was just swallowed by the current. And I was underneath the river, underneath the surface, at a tremendous speed, holding no air, when finally, like a cork, the river spat me out. There was no sign of Kevin anymore. I was taken by the current. It took some 20 minutes. The raft broke to pieces. All the equipment was lost. But somehow I managed to get ground under my feet and pull myself outside. I was alone. I lost everything, all my friends, all my equipment. It was dark. I was wet. This was the beginning of my misadventure.
So, Yossi, you are now alone, no gear, no food, no map, in one of the most unforgiving places in the planet. So, how did you handle those first few days by yourself?
I was miserable, but I had hope. And I want to tell you something. Hope is very dangerous. Hope is a very dangerous thing. Because I was clinging to that hope. And that hope was, I saw Kevin on the bank. It was the same bank that I was on, the right bank of the river. So my hope was, Kevin will come after me. And together, and Kevin is a giant of a man. And it's his fault. Kevin, together, we'll be fine. So I climbed up the cliffs, and I was searching for Kevin, and I had hope. But after 4 days of searching and waiting, when Kevin didn't show up, when you have a light at the end of the tunnel, what do you do when that light suddenly shuts down? That's why I say hope is a dangerous thing. I broke down after 4 days, realizing there is no hope anymore. I am alone. Nobody is coming. And this was the dark night of my soul. I cried. All the elements, the wind, the big trees swaying in the wind, the mighty river, the canyon, the mountains, they were roaring in laughter. Here you are, the conqueror of the Amazon, conqueror of the tribes and the elements and El Dorado. Look at you, crushed, broken to pieces, shattered. I was miserable. I felt, my lifelong dream became a nightmare. I knew I'm about to die, a miserable death, alone, no food, the beasts out there, the jaguars and the snakes. And I cried all night.
So I'm having this image. Of course, I read your wonderful book where you describe so many details, but things from your book, I gather, only got worse. these animals that came after you. Of course, no food. And then there was a massive flood that changed the topography completely. How did you keep going?
Well, there was one moment that changed everything. This was when I stopped waiting on the cliff and knew that I have to walk with the river toward civilization. Even it was hundreds of miles away from civilization, unpopulated, unforgiving, but also the midst of a very strong rainy season, blasting rain all the time. And I started walking with the river, with my bare hand, trying to break through the vegetation. And no food, 5 days. The first 5 days, I ate nothing. On the cliff, I couldn't find anything to eat. I had no gun, no machete, so I ate nothing. A couple of snails, maybe, but nothing. And there, I saw a fruit. And, it was yellow, and I came and I picked up the fruit, and I couldn't believe it because it wasn't rotten. There were no worms. It was plump. So I didn't think much, and I put it into my mouth, and there was an explosion. The explosion was sugar. The sugar, after 5 days without food, I got into altered states, and I felt dizzy, and then I heard a big commanding voice inside my head, and he said, "Get more of this." And I opened my eyes, and I see a tree laden with yellow fruit. And the command was clear, so I obeyed. So I came to the tree, and I pulled myself up with vines. And then as I go up the trunk, here's the first branch with so many fruits. So I hugged the trunk, and with my free hand, I reached to get the fruit. Something coils and then snaps and comes at me, and it's a deadly snake. Oh. The deadliest snake in the Amazon basin. A bite is death within 60 seconds, but without a bite, even it can spit venom into your eyes and blind you. I knew of the snake, and the snake is coming. Now, you have to understand that when the snake is coming, I'm talking about a split of a second. What I'm trying to say, you cannot work a plan how to get out of that. Simply, there's no time to think, a snake is coming to. You cannot do anything. And that's the moment of transformation, because there was nothing I could do. So whatever I did wasn't me. I was just watching. And what I'm telling you, sometimes hard to believe, it's all literally true. Everything turned into slow motion. Everything turned into slow motion. So now the snake is coming very, very slow. And I see that my hand that was holding the trunk is letting go, and I'm falling. Now, if I'm really falling, I'm breaking my bones on the rocks underneath the tree. But everything is slow motion. So I'm not falling, I'm floating so slow, like a leaf. And I see the earth coming, and I have all the time to set my body and choose my place where I land. And I land without hurting myself. I pick up a stick, I turn, and I go back to the tree, and I climb up the tree. The snake is in trouble, not me. I get to the snake, one hit, the snake flies off the tree, I jump after it, I kill it with one shot. Then I put my finger, pull its skin, put my finger, pull its guts, and I'm sinking my teeth into the flesh of the snake. I'm eating it, not vice versa.
Oh.
And as I eat the snake, it wasn't me, I swear. This all happened. So I'm shocked, because my body is throbbing with power, tremendous power. My mind is ice. It's still and cold and crisp. My heart is courage and strength. And my spirit is in the higher echelons, like fully connected, fully feeling the providence and the faith. All my faculties are fully awakened.
Wow.
I'm alive. I wasn't the same person. I'm still not the same person. From that moment, I wasn't a stranger stuck in the jungle. Regina, I never felt so good. I never felt so belonging. I was at home. And until today, I'm at home wherever I am, always. And until today, I'm never, ever a victim anymore. Never.
Tell us about that.
Look, things didn't get better after that. Beside my heart, my attitude, but, even though I was at home in the jungle, what it meant is that every single species came to visit me. And all of them I know personally and intimately, all of them. And it's the densest place on the planet. So just imagine the jaguar roaming around my head every single night. I have no fire, I have no gun, no machete, nothing to protect myself. There's lots of animals, there's like herds of boars and deadly snake. But the worst are the insects. And, there's no place on my body. By the way, my body, all my clothes ripped because of walking in the bush. My flesh is ripped. Nothing heals because I'm wet all the time. The insects. Every place in my body has a bite. Some bites, the insect lay larvae under my skin. I'm etching worms all over my body. The worst thing is that my feet are rotten because I'm mud in my socks and I have no feet. There's 2 chunks of raw flesh, blood, pus, and pain. So much pain. There's no words to describe the pain. I can tell you that every single step is like arrows of pain shooting throughout my body. I'm an injured flesh, raw flesh walking. But there's a miracle that happened to me. And that miracle actually I can share because it's valuable for all of us to understand that. It's very simple understanding. I was in so much pain. There was no suffering whatsoever. There was just pain, but there was no suffering. You know why? Because of that ice in my head. In my head, there was no misery. In my head, there was no belittling voices. In my head was, why me? It's not fair. I can't take it anymore. There was nothing like that, just quiet mind. So the pain was just pain, because the pain is a product of the body, but the misery and the suffering is a product of the mind. Those are not the same thing. I learned how to live in the forest. I scavenged, usually I ate eggs, a couple of eggs a day, and I felt the providence with that. At night, I was looking for a buttress tree, and I put myself between the roots and cover myself with branches. So I learned how to live in the forest. There's a lot of adversity coming my way, but I didn't blame nature even a little bit. I loved nature even then. I felt privileged to be the only eyes that see that mighty beauty in this mighty forest. Until the 15th day. Everything changed again. On the 15th day of my solitude, a huge flood came, as you mentioned. And the flood took me. And the forest turned into a lake, but not just lake, with a current. And the current was pulling me towards the river. And the river was not river, it was just thousands of logs taken by the erosion of this flood. So I pulled myself between the trees, swimming, until I somehow managed to get to a hill and climb up that hill, and everything was water around me for 2 days. 17 days alone in the jungle. My feet, they couldn't take the inclination, so I was on my knees and elbows. I was crawling down the hill when suddenly I heard a noise, and that noise was crisp, and immediately I understood what happened. An airplane was coming. And I thought Marcus and Carl maybe made it to see, and they sent help. Obviously, this airplane is coming for me. So I jumped on my feet now and ran, but I'm under the canopies. There's no, the airplane, and it's above my head, and for a split second I see white airplane deep in the sky, deep in the clouds, fast to move, and it's over. That moment was too much to bear. I fell on my knees. From my knees, I fell on my face. And then I gave up. Something snapped in my chest. I just gave up and I cried, and it felt good. And then out of that place emerged the most beautiful prayer from my depths of my heart. Please, just let me die. I just want to die. I just want to rest. I don't want to live anymore. Regina, I didn't want to live. But I learned that even if you give up on life, it doesn't mean that life will give up on you. What happened is quite incredible what I'm about to tell you, but as I said, everything is true. Suddenly, I'm lying there, and I hear somebody sobbing. I hear a soft cry. And this is impossible. I'm alone, 17 days, but this soft cry. And I keep hearing it, so I get up on my feet, and I look around. Behind the bush is a girl, 17 years, something like that, indigenous, looks frightened. And I look at it, and I cannot believe it. I said, it's okay, I'm also lost. And as I look at her, suddenly I understand, what am I doing? This airplane probably will come back. If we make it to the river, we can still be safe. So I start screaming, we don't have time to waste. We have to make it to the river. And I pull her. All that day, I'm pulling that girl, and whatever it takes, keep going, you know. When we get to the river, I'll take care of you, I'll make you a camp, I'll go look for eggs. Just keep on walking. And the night comes, and I make myself a place, and I break palm fronds enough for the two of us. And I say, come closer, I just want the warmth. And she comes, I hug her, and as I hug her, there's nobody inside my arms. There's nobody there. And now I'm so scared. I said, I'm insane. It wasn't imagination. I made her a place to sleep. I got her. She was not there. You know, it took time to reflect and understand what happened. And I tell you, Regina, I still don't understand. I don't think this girl existed. I think it was imagination. But what I know, I didn't imagine her. I didn't say, let's pretend there's a girl and play. I believed she was there, which means if I didn't imagine her, who did? But that's one thing. But the other thing is even, you see, I couldn't help myself anymore. I couldn't. And I didn't want to help myself anymore. Then she appears, and suddenly I find all the power. You know, it's the biggest realization that I have. Your power is revealed when you give it to another. That's when you find your true power. We don't know our power until we serve a greater purpose, until we give it to another.
I love that. And of course, we, MDRT, we are all about serving others, aren't we? So, Yosi, let's move forward to the day you were rescued, because he was rescued, obviously.
A spoiler.
Spoiler alert. How was that day? Tell us.
20 days, alone. I'm lying on a playa. I made it to the playa. I used fire ants, because I couldn't walk anymore. I showered myself with fire ants, and due to the pain, I managed to ignore my feet. I lit myself on fire and running on clouds of flames, but I made it to the playa. It's incredible what, you know, I say to people that think they can be victims, that if you have time to complain, the situation is not tough enough. When it's really tough, there's no time to complain. There's only time for right action. So I made it to that playa, and I dragged myself crawling away because I was afraid of another flood. So I dragged myself some 100 yards up from the playa. And I was lying there. I couldn't move anymore, and just with the hope that another airplane will pass. And on the night of the 20th, dusk, I hear this soft noise like buzz. And I think it's a wasp or maybe a bee, you know, so I'm just trying to get rid of it. And going stronger and stronger, and it's like buzzing inside my ear. So I open my eyes, but there is no airplane. I raise my head, I see a canoe with a motor coming up the river. Now, I don't know if it's real or not anymore. And it's coming straight into me, towards me, into the playa. Now, I'm trying to crawl and pick myself up. Before I know it, the canoe lands on that playa, and immediately 2 people jump, screaming, turn the canoe and push it back into the river, jump on it, and now the canoe is going away. So I'm completely shocked, don't go. And I managed to get on my feet, but no scream. I cannot scream. I'm just standing there seeing the boat going down river, and it will veer around the curve and it will be over. But for some reason, somebody at the boat just turned his head back and sees me. And then I hear the scream, "Yossi, don't move." It's Kevin.
Oh my God.
And the boat comes back, Kevin comes to me, and he runs to me. We break in tears. He picks me up, he puts me in the canoe. There's 3 other people. Tico Tudela, the owner of the canoe, incredibly gave himself to the expedition. And 2 indigenous people from the Chupiamona tribe, which is the only tribe that lives in the Madidi. They volunteered to help Tico navigate the river that he didn't know. And they found me, and my life was saved.
And they found you, and your life was saved. Marvelous. Now, Yossi, with everything you went through, any one of us, I guess, would never go back. But you did. Why did you go back? And if I could, what is your relationship? What's your connection to the place and the people?
Quite frankly, I didn't know. I went back 10 years later, and I just wanted, Kevin, that saved my life, he moved and lived in Israel. So he was available every day. We became very good friends. I mean, we were good friends, but from Oregon, he moved, married an Israeli girl, and he became a kibbutznik. You know what a kibbutznik? Yeah. He lives in a kibbutz. But there was Tico Tudela, and there were the Uchupiamona. I wanted to thank them. So 10 years later, this is 1991, 10 years later, I went back to South America just to close the circle. And I went and met Tico Tudela. And I was very emotional, naturally, and I said, Tico, I want to go up to the Uchupiamona. The Uchupiamona live, the only tribe that live in the Madidi, and they're 8 hours with a dugout canoe just to get to them.
Wow.
They found me 3 days upriver, by the way, when they found me. So it's 8 hours to get to Uchupiamona. And then you climb the mountain, and the village is up on the mountain above the Tuichi River. They heard by radio that I'm coming, and they prepared a huge celebration to Uchupiamona because nobody comes to see the Uchupiamona, the forgotten tribe in the middle of the jungle. So they were very excited, and they saved Kevin. That's how Kevin was saved. They found Kevin in the river, and then they came back for me. So the noble people, and I came back just to thank them. But as
what about the other 2, if I could interrupt you for a second?
Sorry, I should mention that. They were never seen again.
Never seen again.
They were never seen again. Carl and Marcus never came back. And after a few expeditions, nothing whatsoever was found. The jungle just swallowed them, and they didn't come back. With the Uchupiamona, after me, 10 years later, my Spanish was a bit rusty now. Still, I thanked them, and they said, like the leaders of the tribes, they pulled me aside and said, it's nice of you, really nice of you, that you came all the way. And the sacrifice to come all the way to us, we understand and we appreciate it. that you came to thank us for saving your life. But we want you to know that our life is in danger. In fact, the entire village is in danger of extinction because our youth, they don't want to live like that. There's no novelty anymore. It's just poverty. So they leave and they go down river to the big river and they take any job. They scrub the floors and, wash dishes in the back of restaurants on the big river. And they're not coming back. And more youths are leaving and the village is in danger of extinction. Would you help us to save our lives? Now, what can you say in circumstances like that? You cannot say, look, I'm busy right now, I don't have time to... You don't have a choice but to say, there's no choice. By the way, they knew it. They're hunters. They knew what they were doing. They knew very well. So they set me up, because the only thing I could say, I would do anything, of course, to help you. And so, okay, so this is our plan. We have a vision. Our vision is 2 hours from here. There's a beautiful lagoon, beautiful, pristine. It's the most beautiful lagoon. We want to build a lodge for tourists. And our youth are going to build the lodge. And our youth are going to be the guides and the motormen and the maids and the cooks. And so they can make a living. But not only that, thousands of tourists from all over the world will come to visit us because it's so beautiful. So our youth will take pride in our culture and the beauty, and we will save our village. I thought to myself, these people are so naive. They have no clue what they're talking about. The sacrifice to get there. Who can run a business operation on a river, no flights, no roads? Look, the strongest thing in life is a dream, but there's something stronger than a dream, which is the dream of the naive. Because the dream of the professional and the experienced is limited, because the professional knows what's not possible, and the experienced have enough experience to know what's not possible. But the naive, they don't know it's impossible. And if you don't know it's impossible, it is possible. I wasn't about to tell them it's not possible, so I said, I will help you. Regina, I stayed with them for 3 years. I stayed with them for 3 years. Went back to the jungle, made it my home, the same river that almost claimed my life. I stayed there for 3 years. Made their vision my vision. But look what happened. In these 3 years, I found a tribe that lives in the middle of the uncharted Amazon. And you know what happened? They made me one of them. They embraced me. They taught me their language. They taught me their manners. They brought me to the forest, and through rite of passage, I became a hunter. I became an Uchupiamona, one of them. Believe it or not, Regina, I fell in love. And I got married right there in the middle of the Amazon in a shamanic ritual. Yeah. Since I have to tell the truth, she wasn't the daughter of the chief.
Oh, boy. What a bummer.
But we got married in a shamanic ritual in their way, and I married the entire tribe and the Amazon, and it was very, very beautiful. And then we built Chalalan. We built it. There were no flights, there was no roads. 5 years later, there were 6 flights a day and a new road. Thousands of people from all over the world are still flying to see the miracle of Chalalan. The Chupiamona became the most educated academically tribe of all the 35 tribes in Bolivia.
That's amazing.
The story of Chalalan is a bigger miracle even than my own survival, and I found my treasure as well. I wrote a book that was published in some 20 languages, became a bestseller in most territories. There was a documentary in the Discovery Channel about my story, and a Hollywood movie, I am on stages like that, able to share my story with so many people, make new friends, get inspired and inspire others. I found my El Dorado for sure as well.
You sure did. Yossi, your story is a true testament to the human spirit and how the pursuit of a dream, even one that leads us to darkness, can enlighten our path. Thank you so much for taking us on this journey. You reminded us that while we can't always choose the challenges we face, we can certainly choose who we become in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me thank Yossi Ghinsberg.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.